Welcome, Vicky. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
This is a new setup on the
New
sofa.
setup.
A relaxed atmosphere.
We haven't done a guest for a while, have we?
No.
It's the post-COVID vibe, isn't it?
Post-COVID vibe. Can we still use that word?
No!
Can we use it?
Can we still use that word? I always kind of say it's the C word, but then people kind of wonder what I'm on about when I say the C word.
I say enough C words anyway. So.
Yeah, I know. But there's not many women who do that.
Oh, sorry, Mum.
Your mum will probably listen to this, actually.
Oh, probably.
She?
Oh, bless you.
She'll love that.
Yeah.
How's your mum?
She's good, thank you. Yeah, not bad.
So, how are you? Work? Business?
Good. It's been full on.
You just said you had a few weeks holidays.
I did. Well, it's that balance, Shane, isn't it? Now that we can travel again, not allowed to say the C word, but
Nope.
post we can travel again.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you know, making up for that. But yeah, it's been very full on, and I feel my industry didn't really stop during the C word. So
I think some people stopped using things you do in your industry.
do you know what? It surprised me because some people did and some people didn't.
Yeah.
It was telling because the businesses that you thought were going to adapt, thrive, and really sort of put themselves out there and use this as a situation to go, okay, how can we change and how can we really capitalize on this, if for want of a better way of putting it. And the ones I thought that would be really innovative pretty much shut down. And it was surprising. There were certain industries and certain client bases that really saw an opportunity and went for it. So I took on quite a few different projects in different industries that I hadn't worked in before during COVID.
That's
C word,
interesting.
sorry.
You said COVID, yeah. I'm sure, I don't know whether that affects your viewage now when you use the C word.
There's going to be a little pot there. There's 50p going
50p
into there every time it's used.
Yeah, if it was a fiver, we'd be more
Did
aware of
people
it.
procrastinate then, as in those that felt, you said, comfortable, thought, this is what I've done, this is what I've always done. We've been successful. Why change? This will be gone in a few weeks or a few months. Whereas other people, as you said, found it, wow, the world could change like that. Here's an opportunity for us to expand, blow up, do something different.
Exactly that, Shane. I think, but the thing that surprised me was the types of businesses that acted like that. You'd expect the bigger businesses to have perhaps, I guess that, maybe it's harder for them to adapt and change when there's more people impacted by that, and it's harder to make a decision, for example.
Yeah.
But it was the smaller businesses that were quite agile and quite forward thinking in their ways and how I think it forced everybody to stop and pause. And it's what people did with that time then really defined how they were going to come out of that situation. So, for me personally, I was expecting that I'd have a long time to maybe go, okay, what does the business look like? What do I want it to look like? And sort of maybe plow a bit more energy into, what it's like, guys. You're working so much with your clients that, sometimes it's hard to work on your business and do the bits for yourselves, isn't it? I didn't have that luxury. That was my intention. And by week 2, I was full on again. So
I guess that's the thing. It's probably just for people listening, I guess, just have a kind of a brief explanation of what actually you do, so we kind of cover that off, so we kind of know so people actually know what we're kind of talking about. We're talking about kind of communication and things like that. So
sure,
do you want to kind of cover off what type of things you do for your kind of clients?
So the person who's never self-promoted has to self-promote now. That's not at all awkward. So I guess. So started off as a journalist, editor, magazine, straight out of journalism school, and then set up my business when I was in my early 20s, got jaded by the magazine, worked my way up really quickly, very type A, and then you go, well, where do you go from there? Unless you want to move to a bigger city or internationally. And I that was not part of my career ambition, really. And to be quite frank, I burnt out quite young and couldn't see myself doing it. It wasn't a forever job. Have tons of respect for anybody who does make that their career, because it is not easy. Not that this is easy, but you do have a lot more autonomy when you're working for yourself. And so set up the business, and I've been doing that ever since. It started off as copywriting, communications, culture, and it's just evolved. And no 2 days are the same. And I think it's never taking it for granted that you know your industry. As soon as you think you know something, it changes. So you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
And you have to be to make yourself stand out from the rest. And I think perhaps that's why I've never had to self-promote.
Yeah, no, and it's the word of mouth thing, isn't it, with a lot of kind of things like that. But I guess, what's some of the challenges you kind of find at the moment?
There's constant challenges, but I think this has really accelerated in the last few years.
Yeah.
That the landscape has changed dramatically. And once you've gone through a period of significant change, there's no real going back.
Yeah.
People talk about the new normal. That has seemed like such a cliche. I don't even know how to take that. It's just change, isn't it? And we evolve.
Yeah.
And it's.
I think everyone kind of like that new normal thing. I think everyone thought the world was going to be a total change and shift, but in reality, it's kind of gone back to how it was, in a way.
But lots of things, contradiction, have changed.
It
even
has,
though
but
it's
I
gone
think
back
it's
to
our
normal.
behaviour, isn't it? So
Yeah.
if I look, part of my role is communication and strategy, and I work. I'll add go a bit deeper. Is I work a lot with tech, innovation, sports. A lot of big brands, and then I'll consult and do workshops with national and international brands. So it's not, small audiences that you're dealing with here, and you're seeing these behaviour changes. So, when you're looking at a brand that's got, say, for example, 10 million impressions a month, that's a lot of people to influence or to engage. So understanding those audiences and what we're seeing is attention spans, dare I say it, they're getting shorter and shorter. Short form content is really thriving right now.
Yeah, we said that for a long time. I think we got it down to about 7 seconds, didn't we? I think you.
That's just us two, though.
Yeah, that's probably ours, but our attention span. But I think you have got to. I think if you don't grip people in the first potential, maybe probably less than 7 seconds now, you've probably lost them.
Absolutely.
And I see a lot of promotional videos out there which have this huge intro first before it comes into what the kind of and they're posting this stuff on social and so on and so forth. But people don't want to see your logo and all that. They kind of want, you need to hit them straight away with, this is the problem I solve.
We don't have the luxury of having the really nice sort of
people used to wait for that, didn't
they? Absolutely. But nobody wants to hang around now.
No.
Tell me what's my problem? How are you going to solve it? And I say this to clients all the time, and this might sound really brutal, but nobody really cares about you. And every client I see will think that they have, and I'm not spoiling anything here, I'm not going to offend anyone because I've said it to everyone's face. Nobody cares about your product or your service or your brand. My job, and working collaboratively with the client, is to make it otherwise, is to change that. Because unless they know about you and unless you are solving something for them, because audiences, myself included, us included, we're selfish. And I mean that in the nicest way. If you're going to invest something, whether it's your money, whether it's your time, you want to know what's in it for you.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do for me? And what are you going to do that's going to make my life a little bit easier?
Yeah.
You buy an iPhone, for example, because it's got everything you want on there. You'll go and shop at a certain store or buy a certain brand of clothing because it says something about you, and or it's aspirational for you. But unless it was marketed to you, you wouldn't know that you wanted it.
Like Apple never tried to sell an iPhone, did they? They tried to sell technological innovation, really, didn't they? And everything you wanted in the palm of your hand. Really.
Absolutely, and that taps into something that, and I tell my clients this, is it's called a psychographic. And Seth Godin, I don't know if you guys have read his book, so he's really, he's coined the term, I don't know if it was actually him, I mean, I'm giving him a lot of credit for this, but he talks about psychographics. And whenever we look at audiences, we look a lot at demographics. What do they look like in terms of age, geographic location, for example? And your psychographic goes a little bit deeper. It's what's somebody's aspirations? What are they looking for? It could be status, it could be anything really that's to do with their why. Why would I buy something? Because people like me want to be seen doing things like this, buying things like this, going places like this. It's the reason we all make decisions. And I think in an age now where everything is so data driven, are we forgetting perhaps the human element of things? because that's something that technology can't necessarily replace.
So has that all changed, or has the reset button been hit on all of that since March 2020? Because before that, were we in a rat race of just getting things done, buying stuff, and we're on autopilot, and then we had to stay at home. We knew what we liked, as in family, friends. We couldn't see them. Has that reset button since that time that's just occurred changed all of that stuff?
Do you know what? Probably not the best person to comment on it because I'm not an expert, but I can say what I've experienced, and that is, so for example, I work with a sports team, and I noticed in COVID, C word again, there we go.
It's £1.50 already in there.
They'll be broke by the time I leave this room. I have to see a financial advisor.
They won't be able to help you.
So, it was a really tough, well, I thought it would be a really difficult challenge to keep a fan base engaged while you don't have sport, because it was put off. There was no sport happening.
They were one of the last to come back as well, weren't they?
They were, yes.
Weren't they?
So
we're talking ice hockey then.
we are indeed. And
wondering what sport we're talking about. But they were quite laid back, weren't they, to
yes,
to team sports.
There's me being the real sort of elusive,
Keep
just
it quiet.
in sports,
Don't tell
just
anyone
in
who it
tech. Thanks, G.
Well, we're not allowed to say that.
I have no
We
idea.
can, absolutely.
I was just putting context in because you're talking about a sporting team and people think, what sporting team are you talking about?
So
Style of team.
What we noticed, though, was that a lot of the audiences were really craving that thing that they loved.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually a hard sell because, they just wanted a slice of that normality.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on what somebody puts importance on. And that's really different depending on who that individual is. You'll see certain people drop off. But if that thing means something to you, so I don't know, did you guys feel that you reevaluated what you liked?
I don't think we had a chance, really.
I think I'm gonna have to have a pot there because I'm not allowed to talk about my injury. I think to a degree we did, because I feel there was I said about the rat race, and there was just working on with stuff, and you took everything for granted, and then this thing happened, and I think you did kind of step back and go, the things that you took for granted just aren't there anymore. For example, us going to the rugby or the football, which prior I remember that there was a game.
It was a rugby game.
There was a rugby game. It was Wales-Scotland.
It was that weekend they cancelled last minute,
and it was
wasn't it?
Cardiff City and Leeds United, and we'd go to the football, and the football was becoming a drag, and it was like, well, we were going taking people there, we were enjoying it, we were having meals, we were enjoying the sport, and it became, we're going to football again, and then when it all stopped, you kind of go, wow, all the things that I liked to do, going out, meeting people, doing that, was gone.
Well, yeah, it was. With the rugby, Beaujolais Day as an example, all those little things which we didn't go out a huge amount, but there were certain key times of the year that we went and did things, and they and all those things. But it's been quite hard to get back into those now.
I think it's a behaviour thing. I'm
It
like,
is,
now,
isn't it?
I just can't be bothered going out again tonight. And I think we need to change that. It is behaviour. Go, I'm home now. I don't want to change and go out. And there's no reason why.
I was a bit like that before, though. Why have I made all these commitments? Why did I make these plans? It seemed like a great idea at the time.
Yeah.
And then the day arrives and you're just waiting for someone to cancel. That sounds awful. But I did miss live music. Right before lockdown, I had a couple of gigs. I should clarify, not me playing music, me attending them. That would be an awful thing. And so that's something I really miss, because going to see live music, I was at a Steel Panther concert just before, and as soon as we were allowed to go again, my husband bring me the Horizon ticket, so I was straight back there.
Yeah. And
it just felt really good to be back with just listening. It's not the same as having it on your, in an AirPod.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh, seeing it on TV, do you know? It's not the same,
It's not.
is it?
We just got to see Pearl Jam in Hyde Park as well. That was a really, great event.
Yeah. And
you think, gosh, it's been so long since you could do things like that.
Well,
you appreciate them a bit more.
Yeah, it has been. I think I think I think I know we've been guilty of it. You kind of feel like, oh, I can't be bothered to kind of go, and like things used to kind of go to, like you get invited, you're like, oh,
You make an excuse.
Yes, it's terrible, isn't it? Because you become a bit of a hermit in that time, just because it was easier to kind of know when you see. But I think things are starting to change, and people are starting to do kind of more.
So I don't work in the event space, but I wonder then, as a communicator, this is where my brain's going. I wonder how difficult it is then to get people back into a room for events now, because of course we're missing things like sport and music, but that's more of a pleasure versus a business type of event. How perhaps that's a conversation.
How are they trying to drag people like me and Shane back out to events you used to go to? But they don't seem quiet, do they? You see these events, they all seem to be packed out, and
or at least from the pictures they put on LinkedIn.
From the pictures they put out, exactly that.
But do you think people are more adaptable then to listening to you, where in the past would you have had some pushback on certain things that you may want to change or do with people, but now they have to be willing to adapt and listen to which way you think is the new way to go?
Well, do you know what, Shane? I never profess to know it all as well, and I think that's really humbling, is because, do you know what, my view is a view on something, and I think we all have these industry experts in inverted commas, but really what does that mean in this day and age? Because it's all so subjective. The same way when someone says I'm successful, well, success is subjective. It means something different to everybody, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So my idea of success might be drastically different to your idea, and yours as well, G. So I think me advising is one method that you can take, and let's work on this together, and build what you would like, and hopefully help you achieve your ambitions. But also, do you know what? I fucked up before too. There you go. There's one for you to bleep out there as well. I don't always get it right, but I'll own it. I'll very much own it, and I see a lot of that in the industry is not owning it.
But you're using a lot of words now that is really enlightening. I'm constantly learning. I fucked up. I'm no expert. That you kind of go, I am real. I'm working with you. I'm not going to be here to preach to you. And not many people will be that transparent and open.
Or maybe that's why people do like working with you. I don't know. I'd have to ask them. But I feel like I say this on a weekly basis actually to clients. I say, what have I got to lose? I'm brought in here to give an honest opinion, and it is just that. Because what, there is no gospel on it.
Well, I think you can play. I think the danger in the industry you're in is people will play lip service, won't they?
Absolutely.
And they'll give the answers that people want to hear, but actually whether they actually produce the kind of results, probably not. Or they may do by a bit of luck rather than kind of judgment.
Possibly, but have you ever got anywhere by surrounding yourself with yes people? If you have people around you who just reinforce your own ideas, you're only going to go into a sort of echo chamber then, because you are literally your field or your view then is going to be very narrow. It's healthy to have challenges and opposition, and I encourage it. And everybody I work with, I'll say very openly, will you tell me if this is shit? Or if you don't agree with me, please, be open and honest with me, because let's have a conversation, and I'll say, I don't always get it right, but let's riff this. I don't even like to use the word, the term brainstorm, because I think that is so overrated now and sort of overused or perhaps misused. I think, no, it's not about having all the people in the room. It's about having the right people bringing certain ideas and being open and honest enough to have those conversations. That's how you're going to drive results. If a client, for example, is not open with you about how their business is going, whether that's in terms of, what they want to achieve, what they have achieved, you have to have that transparency. So me being open and honest, it's the same thing, isn't it? Am I an expert? No. Will I be very honest with you? Yes. And will I try and do my very best to get you results? Absolutely. Whatever those results look like for you.
Yeah.
And it's worked so far. So hopefully that's an okay formula.
Yeah, well, exactly that. Because you do, I've had dealings in past businesses where people kind of profess to do X, Y, and Z, and they never really kind of produce results. And then they'll generally throw it back on the basis, well, maybe it's not right for what you're kind of doing. Well, if you get the message across, other people are buying it, so why shouldn't more people buy what you're selling and so on and so forth? But I think a lot comes back to what you kind of said as well, is that I think people are, I guess, selling their product the wrong way, aren't they, as well?
They're too attached to it.
They're
and they're assuming that everybody wants it because they love it and they've put their
and they're
hard
not trying to,
Yes.
and they're
work,
not looking at
time.
and they're not looking at their product and going, actually, what problems does this solve, and what does my ideal customer, what is their pain point that I've got to solve?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've been guilty of that. We've evolved what we kind of do, and you kind of, like, we know that clients really, in reality, need this financial plan, and they need this lovely kind of, let's look in the future and all that. But actually, customers don't, in financial services, they don't come to you for that. They come to you because they've got a pain point. They've had their pension statement come through. They don't know anything about investment. They need to change their mortgage. And sometimes they don't want this big, fluffy, kind of nice kind of.
But that could be the solution. But
that
it's
is
how
the
you package
solution.
it to
It's how you
them.
package it. Yeah,
100%.
exactly that.
And a lot of the time, that's what I see with my clients is they have a solution, but the way they're going about it is not the right way to encourage that. Well, initially the leads, then the conversions, the adoption of that, and then it's that advocacy, or that's what you want. The ultimate is to have a loyal following who are going to do that talking for you, and it's only by being real, honest, and communicating on that human level that you're going to get that.
Yeah.
I don't say the only way. There are many ways, but that is a way. Sorry. So.
But communication is the key, isn't it? Like you can have the best social media strategy out there, and you can be putting out the best content, but if it isn't actually solving the problem you should be solving.
Content is great, but you need context.
Yeah.
If there's no context, that content won't hit right. And my job a lot of the time is, I say this to clients, it's not what you say. And they say, oh, it's how you say it. I'm like, yes, it is how you say it, but it's what people hear. Because if you're saying one thing and somebody's hearing something radically different, they're not going to do what you are hoping they're going to do.
Is it the opposite? It almost becomes spam in their view. That
Absolutely.
they're going, here's more bull that I'm, listen, don't even look at it, don't even read it, don't even listen to it. Get rid of it because it's not telling me anything that I need to hear or I want to hear. It's just telling me something different, no interest. I've gone the opposite way. So I'm doing all this content and it's gone, no interest, no interest, no interest. Get rid of it.
I say that to clients all the time. It's, creating content is great, but creating content for content's sake, you may as well do nothing because it can be more damaging to a brand to have terrible content than no content. So, everyone's like, I'm creating lots of content, but is it any good?
Yeah, and that is the danger sometimes, isn't it?
In their head, perfect.
Yeah.
And it is, and another thing I kind of see is the kind of sporadic posting on social media and all that type of stuff. And sometimes people don't get that kind of right and don't understand actually there's this big algorithm behind all social media, which actually, unless you're consistent, like with anything in life, no one's really going to see your message. Unless you've built this lovely community and you put it into a nice little community page, then people are going to see it. But
it used to be that way. You used to be able to post and all the people that you would like to see it would see it. It used to be so much easier.
But now,
fast forward about 10 years and we don't have that luxury. It's how do you cut through the noise? Because to be able to, especially this applies to organic reach now.
Yes.
If you don't have it, and I still know many big clients who don't have huge paid search or paid social media budgets. So how do you reach people organically? Well, it's making sure you're posting really meaningful content that they're going to want to interact with, because that will tell that algorithm then that people like that want to see it, and it will serve them more of that content.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's got to be consistent as well.
Absolutely.
It has changed, it has evolved because these social media platforms want you to pay for advertising as well.
But are you using the analogy of exercise or dieting or eating healthy, that if you don't do it on a regular basis, it's not going to work? You have to be consistent. You have to do things regularly. Go to the gym and sitting there for 3 hours and doing 20 minutes of work isn't the correct way of doing it. It's the same as putting loads of stuff out that if nobody wants to listen to it, it's waste time. And going to the gym once a week is not going to do something. Or eating healthy Monday to Thursday, but then just absolutely picking out Friday to Sunday is right. You have to do it do the correct things and do it on a constant basis.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah, it is really similar. I think it's you need to put the work in.
Yeah.
And I do say put the work in because, I should clarify when I said earlier that it was really difficult to be in journalism and magazine journalism. Running a business isn't easy either. And I think it just seems more of a hobby because you enjoy it as well. And I think when you enjoy something, that make no, there's no doubt about it. It's really long hours and, it's hard work to make it work. And I think, the clients I work with, they're incredibly hardworking too, especially in the tech and innovation space.
And that helps, doesn't it? Because it's so easy. I guess you probably come across them. Some clients just want a quick win as well, don't they? People just think you're going to come in, you're going to fire this out there, and you're going to have all these clients come through the door. But
they think I have a magic wand,
and
I don't.
It doesn't work like that. You've got to be consistent. It'll take time. You'll get some quick wins along the way, but you've got to look at a longer term view.
Could you come in for 2 weeks, Vicky, and we want a 200% return after week 3?
Well, I'm assuming people do think that. People do think that.
Yeah, no, they do, and we laugh, but. I have been, I've been in pitches and meetings where I've had similar circumstances thrown at me, and I'm quite happy. I think we've established I'm quite open and outspoken. I'm quite happy to say, no, this isn't for me, this isn't a good fit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and you guys probably see the same in your industry, it's your reputation as well. So if you take on a client and it's actually going to end up being really hard work for you, or it's not going to be able to shine the best light on the work that you do, it's not worth it. And I think that's something that's been a big takeaway the last few years is, do you know what? We spend so much time working that I'm only interested in doing good work rather with really good people, because, you don't have an infinite amount of time. You spend it, ultimately that's up to you. We can't control a lot in life, but we can control that. And there's a lot of toxicity out there, and there's a lot of people who will drain you. And I mean clients, it's or prospective clients. And I think it's protecting yourself. It's not just your brand and your business, it's protecting you, because it's not the work that we do that will exhaust us. It's all the shit that goes with it. It's the chit chat and the crap that we have to put up with.
Exactly.
That's what exhausts you and drains you. The work, we do the work because we love the work.
It's amazing that you've touched exactly the way we've, I'm going to say, maybe not pivoted work the last year and a half or two, because it drains you. And we've said it's not about money with us, because you touched on it. Being a business owner is really hard, but it's actually enjoyable. But if you deal with one person and they bring in 5% of your income, and then you don't enjoy it, you can maybe manage it. You kind of go, I don't enjoy working with them, but I have to do it because it's part. But if you get 5-10 of them people, and instead of 5%, it maybe becomes 30% or 40% or 50% of your overall income, you may hate or not enjoy half of your working day a week. And I think that's where the toxicity comes in, that you're beginning to not enjoy what you do because you've got the wrong people. And I think, as you say, you have to be hands up. It's not for me. It's not about the money, because there's loads of people out there. And you still have, if you enjoy your work, I think you give more energy rather than going, oh, no.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there where you in the past, we've taken on clients or taken on work where you dread having to open that file, dread having to go to that meeting because it's going to be a battle. Now, would you rather have the awkward conversation? I say awkward conversations because traditionally they are. I actually really enjoy awkward conversations. So I have no issue going into a room and saying, or whether, a Zoom, I'm quite good at breaking up with people too, with clients, and saying, do you know what? I don't think this is working for both of us. How about we look at X, Y, and Z, and let's touch base in a few months. 9 times out of 10 they won't. So exactly. I think there's a way of doing it where 100%. It's something I've been asked over the years. How do you break up with a client? Perhaps that's another podcast. Is how to break up with clients.
It probably is, Jodie. It's a whole topic in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not being afraid to have those, I guess, stereotypically awkward conversations. A lot of friends who are not business owners will ask me when we go out to dinner in my non-worky life, but how can you go into these rooms with like CEOs and really sort of,
Yeah.
I guess, powerful people? Well, you say powerful, it's people. We
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
all people. And if they could do the job that I do, I wouldn't be invited into
No,
that room
exactly.
anyway. So for me, if I'm going into a room somewhere, well, heck, I'm going to tell them what I know
Yeah, exactly that.
or have some suggestions. I'm there for a reason.
Yeah,
So-
exactly that. But it comes back to, like you say, you've got to love. You've not just got to love what you do, but you've got to love who you work with as well, haven't you? I think
Absolutely.
that's a big takeaway. Really, is that so many people will kind of keep working with crap clients who give them anxiety, and sometimes you got to cut it. Yeah, cut it is good.